Oh, I am so hungry. Hey kids, welcome back for another week of Kids Life. It's me, Aaron, and I'm so excited to be with you this morning. Now this week, we're starting a brand new series called Thanks, because you know what holiday is this month? Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is at the end of this month, and it is a special day where we get to set aside a little bit of time and remember to be thankful for all of the things that we have in life. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it can be hard to remember to be thankful. Sometimes I can compare myself with others and look at what they have and what I don't have, and I can have a hard time being thankful. So this week, in this series, we want to remind you guys to be thankful for all of the things that God has given you. Something I'm thankful for this morning is that I have a basement, and in that basement I have a bunch of tools and equipment that I can use to make things out of wood. It's something that I love doing, and I'm so thankful that God has given me a basement and a space and an ability to do this woodworking, to make things out of wood. So I want you this morning to think about what you might be thankful for as well. It can be something very simple like having a basement and tools to make things out of wood. So what are you thankful for? I want you to tell your neighbor, what's one thing that you're thankful for today? Hopefully you all got to tell your neighbor something quickly that you're thankful. And the big idea today is that we can thank God for providing for us. We can thank God for providing for us. Now, if you've been with us over this last month, you know that we've been going through the story of Moses and the Israelites and how God freed them from slavery. Now, if you remember, they were slaves in Egypt. That means that they were living in Egypt and they were having to work and they were being mistreated and they weren't being paid for all of the really hard work that they did. It was a bad situation. But God was so good and He provided for them by bringing them out of slavery, bringing them out of Egypt. And you would think that the Israelites would be super thankful and never complain, and probably after that moment they always followed God and were so thankful and they just remembered what He did for them. But that's not the case. It didn't take too long of Israel being out in the desert and realizing, oh, it's a lot harder to find food out here than it was in Egypt. See, in Egypt, even though they were mistreated and they had to work hard, they still got 3 square meals a day, and they got all their grains and their protein and their dairy and their veggies and their fruits. They got to eat really well and got to eat what they wanted. But out in the desert, they were having a hard time finding food. And it wasn't very long before their tummies started to grumble. Have you ever been on a long road trip? Maybe you've gone to Florida or out west or somewhere else where you had to be in the car for a long time and you're just sitting there and all of a sudden you're like, man, I am pretty hungry, and you just want to stop by a fast food restaurant and get a nice big burger or a salad or something else. You just want to get food because your tummy is telling you, hey, I'm pretty hungry. Well, that's what was happening to the Israelites, and just like their tummies started to grumble and complain, they started to grumble and complain, and they started saying crazy things like, I wish we were still in Egypt, because at least there we at least had food. What? They wanted to go back to Egypt where they were slaves, but God wasn't going to let that happen, and God was going to provide for them. See, God heard their complaining and their grumbling, and He said, I'm going to remind you that I've already provided for you, and I'm going to keep providing for you. So He told Moses that in the morning, when the Israelites wake up, there would be food on the ground for them. And just like God said, it happened. They woke up and there was food all over the ground, and it was kind of like bread, this interesting food that they had never seen before, and they gave it the name manna, which means, what is it? That's kind of a funny name for food, to just call it, what is it? But they were wondering what it was or where it came from, and they didn't know exactly where it came from, besides that it came from God, that God provided them the food. And God provided exactly what they needed every single day. So He gave them this manna, but there was a rule to it, and He said, you need to go out and you need to gather exactly what you'll need for that day. No more, no less. And there was exactly enough for everyone to get exactly what they needed. But if you keep the food overnight for the next day, then it's gonna spoil and it's gonna have bugs and maggots when you wake up. And some people tried that, and sure enough, when they woke up the next day, all the manna that they had tried to save was spoiled and rotten and had bugs crawling all in it, like a piece of bread that you've left in the back of your pantry for a year and you forgot it was back there, and it's moldy and green and gross and smelly. That's what happened with this manna that they tried to keep, because God wanted to remind them that He was going to provide every single day exactly what they need. And God did this for 40 years when they were out in the desert wandering around. God provided for them. And see, God wanted to remind them that He is going to provide for them every single day. I have my lunchbox here. Do you guys take your lunch to school? Do you pack your lunch? Does your mom or dad help you pack it, or do you pack it yourselves? If you do, you probably know that when you pack your lunch, you don't pack the entire week's worth of lunch on Monday. You're not going to pack a lunch for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday all on Monday, because you'll either eat it all and get too excited and eat all the food, or it'll get rotten by Friday. But what you do is every single day you wake up, or your mom or your dad or whoever you live with wakes up and they pack your lunch for that day. And God is kind of the same way. He provides what we need every single day. See, sometimes we want God to just give us everything that we'll ever need for our entire futures. But God doesn't work that way. He provides what we need every single day, and we get to trust that the next day when we wake up, He's going to give us what we need. Now, I know you guys are kids, and maybe you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of things like how much money you're going to make, because you don't have a job. Your parents do that, and they provide for you. But you still have a lot of things that you might worry about. You might still worry about your grades, or about if you're going to make a new friend at school, or you could be worried about just a teacher that might be a little bit meaner to you, and you could be worried about going to class that day. And your worries are valid, but God is going to provide for you in ways that you don't even expect. Maybe not even the ways you want, but He'll provide in the way that you need. And I want you guys to thank God for providing for you. So here's what I want you guys to do. When you leave today, I want you to tell your parents something you're thankful for. I want you to get in the car with them and tell them what you're thankful for today. And then every night before bed, I want you to stop and I want you to think about 5 things that you can be thankful for that God has given you. They can be really big things, or they can be really small things. Like, I'm thankful that I have a nose so I can smell all the great smells around me. Or I'm thankful that I have ears so I can hear beautiful songs and poems and things like that. So every night, I want you to think of 5 ways that you're grateful, and tell those to your parents. When you have bedtime, if you have bedtime together, and if you guys pray at night, make that a part of your routine, that you thank God for what He has done for you. And do that every single night this month, and I hope that as you do that, you'll start to become more and more grateful, and you won't look around at the things that you don't have, or the toys that other people have that you don't have, but you can be grateful for what you have, and you can remember that God has provided exactly what you need. So I want you guys to thank God for providing for you today. And you'll talk about that a little bit more in your huddles. I'll see you later. Bye.